You've spent 2 months preparing your beds, planting your seeds, your crop is growing, you've got spinach and you've got spring mix to harvest. The most important thing that we can do for any crop that we grow is post-harvest handling. The most important thing is removing fill heat. Best way to remove fill heat is dunk vegetables in cool water. We're lucky our well water is about 56 degrees year round, and that's sufficient we harvest a crop, whether it's beets or greens or whatever, all of it's sensitive, and we take it in and we dunk it in water and get that initial chill off. Water is really good at transferring heat, so it just starts to chill those vegetables. That slows the wilting. Then you can clean it, you can pick through the greens, you can package it. But then the other thing is getting it in the cooler and getting even lower temperatures. But we regularly get 2 to 3 weeks of shelf life for our greens. Spinach can be even longer than that. So what this does is, since we are sending product to Home Feed Nevada, it gives me 10 days, sometimes 12 days of storage while I build up enough crop in the cooler to make my trip worthwhile. Then I get it to 3 Square. By the time we get it to the end user, they still have a week in their refrigerator before it potentially can start to go bad. Post-harvest handling, most important thing you can do to have longevity in your crop and get a safe crop to the public and to your buyers. Here's a really good example for why post-harvest handling is important. I read a research paper a long time ago about corn, and I don't know, you go to the grocery store, you buy an ear of corn, and you're expecting it to be sweet, but it's just kind of starchy. And that's all about post-harvest handling. It's really important to chill it, and so they pack it in ice if they're doing it correctly. If you delay for more than an hour with fresh corn, that chilling process of packing it in ice, you will lose 50% of the sugar. It will be converted into starch within an hour. And then it just snowballs from there. Really, the best corn is taking it right off the stalk, right to the kitchen, into boiling water that's ready to go. That's going to be your sweetest corn. So you want to provide that for your customers. Proper handling of all your crops will bring the longest shelf life and the sweetest product you can to your customers. When we first started our farm, we bought a cooling truck, and we would farm from Monday through Thursday. And then we would wake up way early on Friday morning, load the truck, drive to Vegas to our first market. I would unload. My wife would spend 5 hours in a hot spot to sell our produce. I would hit the strip and make deliveries on the strip. Then I would come back, sometimes even after the market was over, load up the product, find a hotel, stay the night, get up, do a second market on Saturday morning, do our personal shopping, drive home, get home late. Plus we had small kids at home. That made it a big challenge. And we'd be so exhausted that we wouldn't get any work done on Sunday. Then Monday we'd start over again. This is really hard. And so if you live a long ways from, or even if you're close to your market, work with other farmers, develop a food hub of some kind, or a co-op to help move your product. You can't do everything. You can't be the farmer. You can't be the marketer, the transportation expert. You just can't do it all. So develop a co-op or a hub and make your life easier. Spend most of your time where you really want to be, and that is growing on your farm.
If you could create a perfect cooperative team, who would be on that team?
Well, first I'd say the actual grower or rancher, of course. You then need someone that is That's going to probably be the one that's your visionary. That's your big idea person. Then you need somebody that's that nitpicky bookkeeper, accountant, that's obsessed with all those little money details. You would also need somebody, I would say, marketing, somebody that's going to be doing, and that could or could not be the same person as your outreach person. Social media is huge these days. It would be very hard to succeed in today's market, especially if you're doing direct sales to the public without a social media presence. And part of that is having somebody, if that marketing outreach person may or may not be, somebody that will help you develop your story. Because you can buy carrots from anybody. And if you're just interested in buying carrots, you're going to go to Costco or Whole Foods if you're wanting organic. But it's having that relationship with the farmer to know why your carrots are special. What makes it different? It's having that relationship and telling that story that will get your product sold, because no small farm can succeed trying to compete with the big box stores. You have to have a product that's original and or have a reason for that person to buy their products from you.
How do you see a co-op filling some of those some of those team members? Is a co-op something that we really need?
Out here in our area, we have a small business venture that has started some of that. And I see that be very successful. And if people are willing to work together, farmers by nature are very independent personages. So while it's hard to get them together, they have the same goal, and that is to produce the best food they can for their communities. And one of the people that I should have mentioned in the team portion is somebody to do something with those seconds. The small business venture that I'm talking about, they not only sell their whole products, but they then have a person that turns those unused products at the end of the day and or those seconds into value-added products, which is a huge portion. And especially with today's grab-and-go society, you have a higher potential for profit on those value-added items than you do on the raw produce itself. It takes a little more difficult, especially dealing with either your health authority or the federal government, the FDA, whoever happens to be at what level you're working, but you have a much higher chance of success. The other thing that would be beneficial for a co-op is when you're small and you're having to, say, buy only 200 boxes to hold your tomatoes. As a small buyer, you are paying a much higher price for those boxes individually. Whereas if you can get 3 tomato growers together, or a tomato grower, a pepper grower, and a lettuce grower, and they could all utilize those same boxes, you can then buy in bulk and save much more, especially on packaging. You also have the benefit of working together to transport. For those producers in rural areas, if they're taking their things to market collaboratively much more efficient than to do it singly. As well as, not only does it save on transportation costs, it would also save, you would only need one person to be able to sell at that market. And transportation, fuel, and packaging are some of your largest costs when it comes to the small producer.
One of the hardest things in the beginning for me was being a farmer, growing the crop, finding places where I'm going to market the crop. Farmers need to farm, marketers need to market, drivers need to drive, salespeople need to sell. Now we're going to go to EcoGreens and talk to Alex Pope about how he's organizing a food hub.
Yeah, so Rodney came up with if you're farming and you're not selling, you have too much product. If you are selling and neglecting the farm, you don't have enough to sell. So there had to be the separation of, am I moving the product or am I farming? And the trigger for us was the fire that we had. We lost our greenhouse at the farm. That basically means 0 farm items from our farm. So we continued to do the markets with even more farms. So we collected onions and potatoes and things that Rodney wasn't growing to try and accumulate and keep it local. And that's what made me realize I'm now buying a lot of product and not able to go to a market, say, because of wind or heat. I'm now eating that cost. So I'm eating well, my pigs are eating well, but I didn't want to put it on the farmer to return that money or that product. So that was the idea of the store, to be in a brick and mortar so that the weather's not affecting us. And yeah, we just kept accumulating farms. The products we have, we try and promote the farm over anything else that we bring in for variety. But having the kitchen attached to a grocery store means that we can repurpose the product and help the farmer by buying more to give it more of a life. So the salads can come from local farms and they can change flavors every week. The cooked salads, the beets and the kales can come from all different farms, and it can be repurposed into a meal to make it easier for local nutritious products rather than just your farm product now as well. So that is now the building of the hub, because I want more farms to be able to repurpose their products, whether it's wholesale, retail, repurposed into soup, salad, sandwiches, meals. I just want to keep it moving and help the farmer. It was another problem that we ran into. We were meeting halfway a lot of the times, and what I realized was I basically had to start a trucking company to go with the distribution, with the hub. Seasonally, it all changes as well. I might be in Caliente picking up from 2 farms for 2 months of the year, and then I might be in Caliente picking up from 4 or 5 farms, and then nothing like right now. But now I can utilize going to different areas in southern Utah that are squashes and things like that are coming off. So it just made a lot more sense to put on the transportation on my end. So the focus with the hydroponics, the quickest product that I can grow here that we can repurpose is, so we focus on the herbs that go into the restaurant. We do basil vinaigrettes and dill vinaigrettes with what we grow. And then the farm in the store is designed around a thank you to the support from when we had the fire, to show that we can do this again in the store and you guys can watch what is growing. Where I let the FFA kids at the high school help me with the farm now too, so that they can learn different hydroponics and stuff like that. So we've got some lettuces in there today that, they're looking at different varieties that they can grow and why they didn't grow and things like that.
Alex Pope had to close his grocery store and commercial kitchen. The expense and the overhead got too much. But he proved that the program that he was and we were trying to administer works, and that is a food hub. In order to make the food hub happen, we've got to pull together. We do have resources. The Extension Service has applied for a grant to do a study about putting together a food hub in Southern Nevada. But even then, it's going to take more. We need more farmers. We need more support for a food hub. As farmers, we need to be a part of the process of organizing and setting up food hub. It is a program for farms to move their product. The USDA does have grant opportunities to help farmers organize food hubs. Many of the grants require collaboration between farmers and potentially extension or government agencies. So we used to sell quite a bit to restaurants in Las Vegas. They found me actually through farmers market. So the chefs would come to the farmers markets that I was at, and they would say, "Hey, I want your product." So then we would add them to the list, and we would text them each week and tell them what we had, and then they would order. And then the next time we went to the farmers market, I would make deliveries. Nowadays, to find a farmer's market, usually I just search online because they all have an online presence. Then I go to their website, which usually has a vendor application. They're going to want to have some type of insurance. They're going to want you to have your producer certificate. And some may require other requirements. Depending on what you're selling, you may need a health certificate. Most of them are open for 5 hours. Years ago, I had a farmer say, if I go to a market and I don't make $1,000 an hour, then it's not worth going to the market. If I don't go down to a market and clear $1,000 to $1,200, it's not worth my day. Community-supported agriculture, the idea behind it is that, let's say a family is interested in your produce, they would pay a subscription fee. You would receive likely a weekly basket of the produce that the farm is growing. So how this helps the farmer is they get paid up front, so they have funds to operate their farm. You may have a spring, summer, and fall basket. So maybe the spring basket is $300, maybe it's $300 a season, and you would pay that in advance so the farmer could operate their farm. Originally, I just had people show up at the farm or call me and say, we're going to come pick up a product. I would ready in the cooler, and then they would show up. Of course, they have tons of questions about the farm. So it took a lot of time away from my farming. So now I'm going to set up a cooler, and people can still call or order on our website, and we'll have a basket in the cooler ready to go. And then they just come and pick it up however their time schedule works. So those are the avenues and the direction we're going right now for our local community to get our produce. These are just some of the ideas that small farms use to move and sell their produce. If you like the content here, please subscribe. If you have questions, comment down below.